What's the acute to mayhem in terms of a storytelling perspective? What's the acute of a civil war in terms of a storytelling perspective? What does the characters in Adjunct to Mayhem do with their story perspective? What does anything in terms of life show about the story in terms of a war that's within itself? How can you tell that story? And what does it mean to be in the sense of, well, a civil war? Think of a little story, and today we're going to talk about Captain America Civil War. Okay, so the grab, Civil War, Captain America. The niche, Captain America, Civil War. And the overall scope of the film, Anthony and Joe Russo. Making one of the films that will conspire into other films down the line in terms of the Marvel Universe. A story that's being told on a grass of new characters come into play. And a meaning source that's so great and even more palpable today. It comes down to this. Whose side are you on? Are you on the side of the people who say that war is getting out of hand? Or are you on the side of people who want war to end entirely? Well, it's not really like that. It's more like war wanting to be obsolete than war wanting to be maintained. In order not to start something that's being made and accompanied to something worse. So, it limited down to a civil war. And the civil war means that everything in question comes down to this limitless factor. And that means that a lot of things have to come into play before you make the decision on what you feel about people. It started with violence, and it sort of ended with violence, with two heroes not on speaking terms because of the difference of the Sokovia Accords. But the thing is, there's something beautiful about that, in terms of what the mistakes are to be in terms of superhero-ness, in terms of what it means to be a superhero. And what that means generally is, when you have a lot to show for in terms of who you are as a superhero, what do you as a superhero believe in? And I say as a superhero just to catch your grab, because what you perceive in terms of your real life is different than a superhero. But what these people and these superheroes go through is nonetheless occupied and actually realistic to human life. And that's what's amazing about what this movie is trying to portray. It's trying to portray the problem of saving people and the mess that's made doing so. And the two different sides bickering about which one's right. But hang on. Let's talk about that in terms of the nooks and crannies. What are the nooks and crannies of this? And how can we relate it to other things in life? Let's go into detail. Okay, so there are two disagreeing sides. One on the side of making war a probable constitute rather than abolishing it, and others saying making war obsolete, no longer in check. There's a famous line in Age of Ultron that reflects this. Anytime anybody aims to stop a war before it starts, always loses. Said by Captain America. But the thing is, when you think about this, it's more or less a tranquil, beautifying standard of what this land is. This earth is. Human life is. Because when you think about things that are coming as a consequence to what you're doing on a major scale, you often overlook the small things. And that's what I want to see kind of relate to you. What are the small things that you're missing on a grand scale? And the hindrance of a grand scale? And how can you push that to the narrative of, well, here's where I am, and here's where I want to be? What are you doing in life to make sure you're able to not fight off what you're able to fight off, but make sure you can agree to terms that are literally upon your face? And what does that mean to agree upon those terms? When can we come to an agreement before it turns into a civil war? Each character had their own personal say in terms of why they're fighting the way they're fighting. Captain America fighting for the fact that war should be one way rather than the other, and also to protect his friend. Iron Man wanting war to stop entirely, and so that his fear that the Avengers lost because of him. And Black Panther because his father died. Spider-Man to prove himself. There's a lot of different things that come into play when talking about why these characters do what they do. But here's the thing. The characters do what they do based on what the story tells. The story's very clear. Are you in agreement with what's happening? Yes. What are you going to do about it? One side goes left, one side goes right. Which one is right? Which one is wrong? See, here's the thing. when it comes down to business and all things that are living wholly in the world, it's really the part of you that says, what is actually the responsibility? What is my responsibility to all of this? And how can I make things different because of it? See, that's the overall thing with this movie. They all find themselves in a deeper realm than what they are truthfully meant to be. And the thing is with that, when this movie ends, it ends with a note of, well, what do we do now? Who's in check with each other and who's not? Civil War ends up being that movie that everyone knows to be a very fantastic movie. But it's fantastic because of its themes. It's fantastic because of what it does to you as an audience member. It's fantastic because, well, you end up seeing yourself in the mirror of what it means that could be something heroic and something agreeable. But here's the thing. Something to take note of when you're talking about this movie and everything that I've just said matters to the greater scope of what's internally driven by each character. They're all meeting one end goal to face the news and see what the day can bring, to face the news and see what the days have brought. And the beautiful thing about this is they all come to realize that consuming hate, consuming disagreements, consuming something that's far beyond what we could expect is not entirely on wits. But despite that, what does that mean for you and I? What does that mean for you and I? Application, of course. Okay, so what can you do to challenge the thought of what it means to be in agreement with something or disagreement with something? What can you do to stop a war from happening? What can you do to stop a fight from happening? And how can you make sure you maintain who you are without losing yourself in the grips of hate and violence? This YouTube channel is aimed to distort the fact of a movie and to look deeper within the realm of the movie based on a psychological view. And this YouTube channel is meant to do that in many different ways. But one of the ways it's meant to do that is dissecting what it means to tell a story with violence, to tell a story with hearsay, to tell a story with everything that's, well, written down on paper. What does the story implement to? And what's the worldly aspect we can take away from it? Well, let me ask you this. What are you doing to fight the things in the world that really are in disagreements? There's a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of things going on that may be hard to really understand and hard to put on paper. But in all, it's something that we need to kind of discuss. Because if we leave it left with no discussion, we leave it left to conspire and grow and grow and grow into something worse. That's why it's important to notice what your talents are. See, each superhero in this movie had a talent that they had to bring to the table. And that's what made them kind of powerful in their own senses. The strength, the genius, the charm, everything these superheroes had, they were capable of fighting and doing so. But the thing is, what makes this so beautiful at the end of the day is superheroes that come across as models for how we should live and what we should do to make sure we understand what we should do as people in general. So let me ask you this. Are you living your life in terms of what's right versus what's wrong? And what is right and what is wrong? And can you decipher which one is which entirely? And that's entirely up to you. What does it mean to be in the moral standing? And what does it mean to be far from it? Thank you for helping my application. Let's close out. Thank you for my local store. Thank you for the Marvel Cinematic Worldview Commentary. The more commentaries in the future are coming out for those. Also, the mission is 1,000 subscribers. You guys let me get there by hitting the share and subscribe button right on the screen. Also by hitting the bell. Leave a comment if you can too. Thank you again, and peace.